Bore dda. Yn amlwg ni'n brwydro yn erbyn yr elfennau heddiw gyda'r gwyns. Dyn ni gwybod hynny, cyd ni jyst wedi trio ein fan y YesCymru lan o'r top o babeth, a bron wedi colli 3 aelod, so mae fe wedi bod yna, mae'r diddorol ma wedi bod. Beth i fwy wneud heddiw wedi, jyst siarad am YesCymru a sut mae wedi esblygu, a sut dyn ni trio dod mwy fel mudiad trwy'r democrataidd, y dylsyn ni fod, really, ac yn croesawu cwestiynau. Rob Hughes, fi un o'r cyfarwyddwyr o deddwrau. Mae Naomi yn cyfarwyddo hefyd, ac Evan yw'r swyddog cyfathrebu YesCymru. Dyn ni gyd, I think, yn ymwybodol. Sorry, ydy pawb yn Gymraeg yn mynd in? Does anyone not understand what I'm saying? Great, that's fine. I'm happy to do, we'n hapus yn neud pethau'n ddwyieithog. I'm happy to do things bilingually. Siwr o fod bydd y ddwy pethau mor i gweud, it'll be the same things that I say, I think. So, dyn ni gyd yn ymwybodol bod yn ein bywyd wefel dyd YesCymru wedi wynebu problemau yn y gorffennol. I think it's very obvious that YesCymru have faced some problems in our short life. And so pan fes i ar bwrdd YesCymru gyda grŵp o bobl newydd, un o'r blaenoriaethau ni oedd creu mudiad sy'n perthyn i'n haelodaeth ni. So when I and a few other people came on the board 2 years ago, I think our aim was to create a movement that represents its members and is a proper grassroots membership organisation. Lle mae'r llais gan bawb. So ni wedi bod yn gweithio ar strwythurau TDU YesCymru yn galed iawn dros y 2 flynedd diwethaf. We've been working really hard on our internal structures over the last couple of years. Mae pobl yn gwybod bod yna grwpiau leol YesCymru, so people know that we have local groups, a bod aelodau yn gallu bod yn rhan o grwpiau leol. And people go to part of local groups. Ac wedyn dyn ni wedi creu cynghorau rhanbarthol, sy'n cyfro 5 rhanbarth sydd gyda Senedd a hyn y bryd, sef y dedwyrau decanolog, degorllewin, canolbarth Cymru a wedyn y Gogledd. So we've then we've created regional councils for the 5 areas within Wales. And we should have 70 directors. That's really the ideal, the optimum. Oedd na pwynt pan, jyst o'r fi ymuno, o pan o'n i ymuno, oedd 6 cyfarwyddwr yn Redig YesCymru. Ni gyd yn wirfoddol. So there's a point where there were only 6 directors running YesCymru, and everybody's voluntary in that position. Ac mae'n stopo pethau yn weithio yn effeithiol. It stops things working effectively. So, dyn ni lan at 13 nawr, ac mae cynrychiolaeth hob ardal Cymru. We're up to 13 now, and all areas of Wales are represented. So, y pwynt gan sefod yn glyn y trwch bod yn trwblwyo democrataidd yw bod unrhyw aelod nawr erbyn ffais i effeithio ar y penderfyniadau neir gan bwrdd YesCymru. So the idea now is that any individual member within YesCymru has a pathway to be able to affect the decisions that are made by the governing body of YesCymru. Ac mae hwn wedi llwyddo yn dda dros y 2 flynedd diwetha. That's worked quite well over the last couple of years, ond dyn ni dal angen gweithio yn gyletach arno fe, yn glyn â cyfathrebu sut dyn ni gweithio gyda aelodau. We still need to work more effectively to show how we, how we work with our members. Mae cyllideb ac ariannau YesCymru mewn lle hollol wahanol i le oeddwn ni 2 flynedd yn ôl, ble oedd dyfodol YesCymru yn afantol, really. So our financial situation is completely different to where we were a couple of years ago, but we were probably YesCymru's future was, in the balance. And we've managed to sicrhau bod ni ddim wedi colli aelodaeth, a mae aelodaeth yn dechrau mynd I fyny eto. So we're in a position where membership has stabilised and is started to go up again. We dyn ni ar hyn o bryd just yn bryn o 6,000 o aelodau. So we're just under 6,000 members at the moment. Mae rhaid ni cyrraedd 10,000, a dyna'r yn glin ar beth yw blaenoriaeth ni ar hyn o bryd, codi aelodaeth yw popeth i ni. We need to reach 10,000 because membership is everything to us. In terms of the voice that we had on the political landscape in Wales, da ni'n mynd i fod llawr yn gryfach gyda mwy o aelodau. Un peth arall bod ni'n neud hefyd, dwi'n credu bod hynny'n really bwysig I aelodau gyffredinol o YesCymru. One of the other things that we do, which I think is really important for members of YesCymru, is da ni'n mwy un aelodau ni sut mae arian ni yn mynd, right? So we give financial statements to our members as well, which I think is really, really important because pan chi talu mewn I mudiad, mae'n really bwysig I chi wybod lle mae carian chi yn mynd. Ac fi'n mor falch o ddweud bod arian chi fel aelodau yn mynd at trio creu sefyllfa lle bydd Cymru yn annibynnol. We really want to sort of show that your money goes into to making Wales an independent country. Ni'n gwybod pan cyrfiwyd YesCymru yn 2014 oedd cefnogaeth dros annibyniaeth a 6,000 ac yn ddiweddar mae hwn wedi codi 41 ffrans. So we've gone from 6% in around 2014 to 41% now. A mae'r real teimlad, dyn ni'n ar as ddiben. Right, there's a real feeling in a good positive way that we're sort of on the precipice of pushing ourselves over the line. Mae pobl yn siarad am pryd daw Cymru annibynnol, ac maen nhw'n siarad am 30 mlynedd, 40 mlynedd, pethau fel hynny. Dyn ni ddim yn gweld e fel ni o gwbl. Right, so people talk about when Wales will become independent, talking about 30 and 40 years' time. That's not the way that we see it. The way we see it is this is something that's going to happen in the short term. And dyn ni'n just ail cael y sgwrsiau gyda phobl ynglyn â'r pam na fasen nhw'n cefnogi Cymru annibynnol. A beth dyn ni'n ffindio, dyn ni wedi bod yn Tafwyl, yn Steddfod ni yma yn y Eisteddfod hefyd. Ond naeth ni fentro mas o'n tir cysurus ni gan mynd I siwy fawr hefyd yn ddiweddar. So we've done a lot of home surf activities like being in Carboy and the Eisteddfod near. But we did go to the Royal Welsh Show as well. And mewn ffordd agoriaeth ag bydd hynny, like it was eye-opening for us really. Achos ro'n I disgwyl lot fawr o bobl I fod yn erbyn syniad annibyniaeth. We were expecting a lot of people to be against the idea of independence. A roedd llawer o bobl yn erbyn y syniad. And there were a lot of people who were against the idea, but roedden nhw'n erbyn y syniad mewn ffordd mor feddal bod sgwrsia yn mynd I newid sut maen nhw'n bleidleisio. They were against independence in a way that was so soft that conversations are going to change their opinions. Felly, dyn ni...
Rwy'n ni'n agori I gwrando a beth o'n mynd dweud yw e.
Yeah, and then just, I mean, dyn ni wedi datblygu y cwestiwn pam, y power y cwestiwn pam ynglyn â'r annibyniaeth. So, ydych chi'n aelod YesCymru na pam yn just gadael e? Ydych chi'n credu nhw'n annibyniaeth na pam yn gadael e? Ac dyw pobl rili ddim, dy dadleuon erbyn hyn yn erbyn annibyniaeth I ddim yn dadleuon gryf iawn, a ddim yn dadleuon bod I ddim yn gallu trwy. So the arguments against independence at the moment aren't arguments that we can't answer and that we can't turn. Dyn ni wedi rhoi mas version newydd annibyniaeth in the pocket. We've given out, os chi mwyn eisiau lawr, just, I said that, mae'n really anffurfio. We need a lan tra bod i'n mynd, like, good. Yeah. Felly, yeah, mae annibyniaeth in the pocket, a version newydd, and just rhoi stori bach anecdote with hi. O bwy sy'n dubious, bwy sy'n biwjus nesaf I fi yn dydinog yn ardal Merthyr wedi bod yn gadar na yn erbyn annibyniaeth. Mae YesCymru mawr wedi peintio'r wal ni. Ac I stopo fi gwerthu tir, sapel ni, ti'n really yn erbyn e, like, ti'n felly, oedd e'n dros y misoedd diwetha, mae wedi dechrau gofyn cwestiynau amdano fe yn stan. Right, nawr amser danfod. So nes i danfod ei llyfr trwy'r post dan y byniaeth yn y boced. A oedd e'n gwybod bod e'n dorri fi, ond ei ddim moyn lwyr yn e, Ac ti wythnos nôl, when it's it, that's a nice i fe. So I gave him the Annabelle Independence Year pocketbook, and about the week later, he came across me and gweud, I have read it. I'm a yes. And so yn dyna rhywun sy'n gada na, sy'n wedi trwy, just yn cael stwrsiau. So dyna'r beth hoffwn i gweud am sort of YesCymru. But dyn ni wedi mwyn cwestiynau gan pobl hefyd. So that's really what we want to talk about in terms of YesCymru and where we are. We're in a very, very positive place. It's taken us a long while and a lot of hard work to get there. But we'd really like to know if anyone's got any questions at all about YesCymru, about what we do, about what we should be doing, or suggestions. Because the one thing that I think that we've really learned to do very well is listen to people. And I think that's one of the biggest positives probably is that we are an organisation that listens to members and where members are the organisation I'm in. So has anyone got anything that they would like to ask about what we do, what we should do, or so open forum? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, was ganddi i'r deng i'r polisi, os bod wedi bod yn cynnal yn dach yn y fawr na. A mae ti'n gwybod trafod bod yn eisiau cyfieithu sy'n y diwedd na. Yna tywod i'n gyfyru y pwynt ni yn bydd â haf angwaniad, os yna i arifyrw i'r dybio. Ydy ysri gyda'r cyfrifiad yn cyfeirio yn y safias ar o'r blaen.
Mae'n cwestiwn rhy dar, mae'n cwestiwn sy'n, os ti'n edrych yn ôl ar y referendum yr Alban, oedd y Llywodraeth Prydeinig wedi cael nhw a couple o pwyntiau a ni ddim yn fodlon, a fi tymod, a ni stryglo trafod. So mae peth am y currency yn weddol hawdd. Byddwn ni'n defnyddio currency. Ie, byddwn ni'n defnyddio currency, dyn ni mwyn defnyddio. Ac hynny yw, tymod, os mi am creu currency yn hynna'n, dyn ni gallu neud ni, ond yn fwy tebyg, byddwn ni'n defnyddio currency sy'n gyfni ar hyn o bryd, like, tymod. Ond y peth yw, mae opsiynau dyn ni. Right? Mae digon o grydydd yn y byd sy'n defnyddio currency gwarar eraill. Mae'n digon o grydydd yn y byd hefyd sy'n wedi creu currency a hynna. Right? So mae opsiynau dyn ni. A dwi'n credu gyda pob un o pethau yma, does dim polisiau gyda ni, really, yn YesCymru. Cos mae pob penderfyniad yn eir yn y dyfodol ac yn annibynnol yn cael ei wneud gan bobl Cymru. Right, so dim i ni, but that's y trafodaeth. Ond yn y tymor bydd, ydy ni'n cadw y currency sy'n da ni. Ond wedyn, mae'r opsiynau arall ar ôl hynny.
Mae'n y pwynt bwysig i deall, do. Mae'n rhywbeth rhaid i ni siarad mwy amdano. Achos, mae currency yn gallu bod yn rhywbeth bwysig sy'n gallu helpu ni yn dechrau datrys y problemau fel tlodi a pethau fel yna. So mae'n bwysig bod ni'n dechrau y sgwrs gyda bobl ar pawb yng Nghymru yn gallu dechrau siarad am hyn. Achos pan mae bod yn dechrau, pan mae nhw'n clywed fel y tro gyntaf, falle ni'n gallu gael y currency ein hunan, mae'n swnio fel rhywbeth ofnus yna. Mae'n rhywbeth, rhaid i bod yr ofyn amdano, ond dwi ddim, mae'n rhywbeth syml iawn. Mae'n fel 146 nations yn y byd gyda currency ei hun, ti'n So, mae'n rhywbeth rhaid i ni siarad am, achos mae Lad Iar wedi dangos ni yn ystod financial crisis, ti'n Sut ti'n gallu defnyddio'r currency i sicrhau bod ti'n edrych ar ôl y pobl yn y gwlad ti, a sicrhau bod bydd yn ail pethau dan austerity. So, mae YesCymru ddim gyda polisiau, ond mi yn mynd i wneud stwff i helpu bobl deall y pwynt o gwmpas pethau fel currency. Ni newydd wedi wneud podlediad gyda'r William Thompson, Mark Cooper a'r Tegid Roberts, yn maen nhw'n siarad am ffawr y pethau, maen nhw'n siarad am y currency. So ti'n gallu mynd ar y sianel YouTube ni, ar edrych ar y pennau gyda nhw, a bydd yn esbonio'r ffawr y pethau amdano.
So Evan was just saying that despite the fact that we don't have a policy on currency, that it's a discussion that we should be having. There's a podlediad available with Tegid Roberts and Mark Cooper and William Thompson, and it's something that we do need to address because we need to address issues like poverty in Wales. Was that? Dyna'r beth oedd o'n dweud. Yes.
Searing at the box about each area, but the agree. But got the yes, but it's got the set up.
Great, lovely, diolch yn fawr. So, the podlediad is definitely worth listening to for anyone who's interested in the subject of currency, and I think it'll be helpful in terms of understanding the
Mae'n on Spotify.
and it's available on Spotify. I'm turning into a translator, but it's great. Gwych, ardderchol, diolch yn fawr yn hynny, diolch am y cwestiwn hefyd. Gwych, unrhyw arall eisiau dofyn unrhyw cwestiwn? Yes.
Bydd arall sy'n mynd ar y deli o mi I slenwi wledigaeth o aelodau.
Ia, oce. Un o'r pethau, dyn ni'n edrych... Dyn ni'n yn aml yn siarad am y ffaith bod 60 wledydd wedi garw tymor y ymerodraeth a pethau fel hynny, a ddim wedi dod yn ôl. Ond un o'r pethau bod ni rili am wneud dros y meisydd nesaf yw dechrau edrych ar storis o wledydd sydd wedi gadael undeb o fath. So bydd ni siarad am rhai sydd wedi gadal y Cymamwlad, yn ei gadw Prydain fel y maid, a rhai sydd wedi gadal y USSR hefyd. And just edrych ar sut maen nhw wedi datblygu. Cos ar hyn o bryd, dwi ddim yn credu yn bersonol bod ni wedi creu y dal yna gefo pobl o weld sut mae wledydd wedi datblygu yn annibynnol. And so one of the things that we're going to look at is how countries who have left federations to become independent nations have done that, what their success stories are, and what that looks like, in order for us to be able to have that picture in Wales where people can see what different independence will make to Wales as well. It's un o'r pethau bod pobl yn gofyn yn aml. It's one of the things that people ask regularly. Ac ces I sôn hynod diddorol o stondin YesCymru gyda fenyw o Estonia. Ac o'n I just siarad am sut mae Estonia erbyn hyn. A wedyn 91 daeth nhw yn annibynnol. Ac o'n I just gweud, os unrhyw amser erioed chi'n meddwl, hoffwn I fynd yn ôl, a bod I just chwerthu. Ac dyna'r beth, mae rhaid I ni dangos hynny bod pobl yn gallu bod yn lwyddiannus. We must got to be able to show that people could be successful, because mae'n neud I bobl mewn i'r pethau bod nhw ddim yn deall neu gwybod yn dyfe. Dyn ni ddim yn gallu bod yn sicr ni'n mynd I fod yn well off yn Cymru annibynnol. Gallu bod yn weddol sicr, dyn ni ddim yn mynd I fod yn lot waith off. Ond sut mae hynny wedyn yn mynd I effeithio pocedi arian, bywydau, tegwch, cyfiawnder a phethau hynod bwysig fel hynny. So we do have to give some sort of picture to people in Wales how independence is going to affect them. You know, we can't absolutely be sure it's going to make us better off. We can be fairly sure it's not going to make us worse off at the moment. But we also need people want to know things like, what's the money in their pockets, what they've got to spend, social justice, fairness, and what's that type of society they're going to live in. So mae 'na digon o siamplau o gwmpas y byd da ni'n gallu edrych arno. Da ni'n gallu tynnu camariaethau gyda Chymru ac dangos potentially, really. So there are enough examples around the world, and I think in terms of research, I think that's really something that we should be doing, because I think it will lift the fears of people who are independence there, union there. I think that will happen.
Yeah, mae'n llawer o bethau ni'n gallu ni gallu esbonio i'r bobl sy'n ar hyn o bryd doedd ddim yn fel common knowledge sy'n mod yn bwrdd. A mae llawer o negeseuon sy'n wedi dod mas o defnydd o Sen Stepan dros blynyddoedd degawdau. Mae wedi creu, a hefyd ni'n glywed yn pob dydd drwy pobl fel Reform. Mae'n wastad yn bod, siarad am, a hefyd y Lyned Morgan wedi dweud hefyd y fe yn y cyfweliad I cwbl o wythnos yn ôl. Oedd hi'n dweud bod, oedd y cwestiwn, beth mae hi'n meddwl am annibyniaeth? Oedd hi'n ymateb, well, we'd be extremely, extremely poor. Doi hyn ddim yn iawn o gwbl. Ac os dydyn ni ddim fel hynny yn barod, ni gyda £76 billion economy yn barod, cyn ni dechrau datblygu fe. A hefyd, dydyn ni ddim wedi wneud, dydyn ni ddim gyda lefers sy'n gallu datblygu'r economi. Lun yna, really, mas o'r gwaith o bobl o'r gwlad yn barod. Cos neb wedi helpu ni mynd at y deddydd yma, lle yma yn barod. So, os ni'n just bwyntio ar ein hynny, a ni'n gyda popeth, ni'n gallu reoli popeth, a ni'n gallu bwyntio ar ei hunan, gyda, y holl offerau ar our disposal, mi gallu creu rhywbeth arbennig. Ond bydd yn cymryd llawr y gwaith, ond pwy arall sy'n mynd i wneud e? Os dydyn ni ddim yn mynd i wneud e, pwy arall sy'n mynd i wneud e?
Pwy wedi ddiddorol na, mae'r undeb wedi cael 800 brynydd i sôn, o'n i mas mewn cled, le ni gallu affordio byw yn 10, a smo fe wedi newid. So the Union have had 800 years to give us a standard of life that is right for the people of Wales, and they failed completely in terms of more copper than the mass under extraction economy and stuff, but then they so.
A hefyd, ces i fy magu yn Lloegr, fi wedi symud i Gymru pan o'n nhw'n oedolyn. Fi wedi dod ar annibyniaeth trwy gweithio gyda plant mewn tlodi. O'n i gweld bod fi'n mynd gallu newid y sefyllfa nhw. Mi gallu newid nhw fel, ni gallu trio i helpu nhw gyda addysg a pethau, trio i roi plaster ar y problemau, a trio i helpu un plentyn am y dydd. Ond doeddwn ni ddim yn gallu stopio nhw mynd mewn tlodi yn y lle gynta. A dyna'r problem, ac os mae strwythau yn stopio ni yn datrys y problem cyn mae'n dechrau. A dyna ble ni yn. So, fi wedi dod at annibyniaeth trwy'r y gwaith yn gweithio gyda pobl yn mewn tlodi. A dyna sydd fi wedi sylweddoli bod mae annibyniaeth bod dim ond un ffordd ni gallu newid o.
Yeah, so Evan saying that he came to independence through working with children in poverty in Cynnal, and that without the ability to control our own economy, things are never going to change. And I think that's a really important thing for us to consider as well. Peth arall hoffwn i just pick o lan arno, oedd e just wedi siarad am reform yn fan ar yn ystod y sgwrs. Ev's just talked about reforming during this conversation there. And dyn ni ddim yn mudiad gwleidyddol, we are not a political movement, and dyn ni'n trio lle posib aros mas o'r trafodaethau sydd yn ddadleol neu yn rhannu, peth ni. Ond un peth hoffwn i gweud ydy bod ni wedi weithio mor galed i fod yn cynnwysfawr ynglŷn â ydy yn y gair gan inclusive, cyfartal in aelodau ni. One of the things that we've worked really hard on is to become an inclusive movement, and we don't have policies, but we are a movement of hope, not hate, and we are never going to move from that point either. Dyn ni credu bod pobl sy'n penderfynu wneud eu cartrefi yng Nghymru yn Cymru i bob pwrpas. So people who choose to make a home in Wales are us. Dyna sort of be fi'n credu. Mi jyst mwyn i gofyn i Niomi am funud. Sut mae hi'n gweld YesCymru fel mudiad rhwysawgar, like a welcoming movement?
Yeah, fi teimlo fel mae teulu fi'n gweud, mae'n amazing dod fan hyn pob blwyddyn ar fel pardon, no mae'n awno. I'm disfil.
Sorry, we're just really great man swill. Mae wedi bod mas ddwy yn just fideo yn pobl. Si, dyna beth mae 2 paint yn neud, right? So oedd hi mas na'n siarad gyda phawb yn neud fideos ddwy ar y maes.
Yeah, but mae fi, fel oedd hanner triniaeth, siarad Cymraeg nawr, but wedi dysgu yn gweithio yn YesCymru yn just maen nhw'n pwysau dda. And os fi'n angen unrhyw beth, ni ddim yn teimlo'n yn gwahanol iddyn nhw. Fi'n gyda'r llais deg, a fi'n cael y clywed os fi angen unrhyw beth. Fi'n eistedd sylwi, da chi'n penderfynu anyway. But yeah, fi'n croeso i bawb.
Dwi'n meddwl bod hynny'n bwysig i ddweud. Os unrhyw arall gyda cwestiwn? Yes.
This hefyd a fersiynau o Gaerdydd. A mi eisiau feddwl beth o Kyrgyzstan. Ond mi eisiau beth ag ysgrifau. Ond mi gyglwyr o yr reception o weithredol, a bod fi dweud, styfyrdydd fi, dwi'n gwybod iawn, a sy'n eidio bras o Kyrgyzstan. Mae gen i iaith swag y gamser, a beth dweud am ei had yna. A da ni can masacro o dim, mae'n twb o math bethau. A dwi'n meddwl, un jyst siarad yn o bobl sy'n practical ar ei fyniad, o bobl sy'n fedru dawyd i.
Yeah, my point really da. So we're talking there about working with countries that haven't just become, aren't already independent, but countries that aren't independent. Yes, and Kurdistan was giving us the reason. No, as the example, sorry. Gawson ni mis diwethaf yn Nghaerdydd, gawson ni cynhadledd ISEC. He had an ISEC conference down in Cardiff last month, where roedd 8 grads Ewropeaidd fel y mai sydd ddim yn annibynnol gyda cynrychiolau sydd wedi siarad ar y cynhadledd. There were 8 representatives from 8 European countries who came and spoke to the conference. British, Brittany was also there as an observer as well. So Catalonia, yr Alban fyna'r Sicilia, and places on i ddim hyd yn gwybod amdanyn nhw, and places I didn't even know about. And so there is already a pan-European movement of small countries working together. Probably y peth mwyaf ces I mas ohono fe, gan gynnwys Catalonia a gan gynnwys yr Alban, the biggest thing we've probably got out of it, including Scotland and Catalonia, is we are really well placed to be amongst the first century to become independent nations, and that it was remarkable that the people from Catalan and Scotland were quite jealous of where we are at the moment. See, just dangos pa mor beth. Ond dysgu gan bobl, helpu pobl, yes British, which is yes Ystod, yes Brittany, we're helping them model their movement on the movement that is YesCymru, and gweithio gyda'i gilydd yn massively important. Mae'n hugely important that we work with countries that are not yet independent too. There's so many lessons we've got that we can learn from other people. We definitely are going to try and do that. Mae'n bwynt really da ar y diolch yn fawr iawn am hynny. Gwir. Os unrhyw cwestiwn? Yes. I love this question. Right, this is my favorite question. I live in Merthyr. I work in Blaen y Gwent. Right, so I am in absolutely the middle of Leave territory in Wales, and it was a bizarre referendum, the Brexit referendum, because I had many conversations with people in the area where I live and work who were voting on matters that have absolutely no impact or effect on their life at all. So it is though to a certain extent they live in Blaen y Gwent, but they were voting on what might happen in Kent or something like that. So with whether we join the EU or not, I voted to remain in the referendum. I think probably a lot of people who follow YesCymru did as well. But there are examples of countries in Europe that succeed outside of the EU. Like Iceland and Norway and Switzerland and many others. So it's up to us, right? And the thing about whether we are an EU nation or not, at the end of the day, will be up to us. But it's a decision for the people of Wales based on the arguments that affect Wales that will decide that, rather than what happened in 2016. I think.
Yeah, I think also. The main point is if we want serious conversations about serious subjects like that, this is where independence is important. Because we're not going to get that at the UK level. We saw that with the Brexit referendum. It was such an extreme political event, really, that wasn't, a serious event, that wasn't done under any serious type of dialogue whatsoever. And if we compare that to the independence referendum in Scotland, where it was a serious dialogue and the whole nation took it seriously, what a difference that made to that country. What was interesting, I was listening to podcasts with a couple of the Scottish guys involved, and they were talking about how their nation has changed just in civic responsibility alone, just through the referendum. So the referendum itself had positive impacts on the country because it was done seriously. It was taken seriously by everyone. It was a serious intellectual conversation that was spread amongst every community in Scotland. But with the Brexit referendum, it was a circus, and nothing was discussed seriously, and it was just who shouted the loudest and convinced the most people based on populist politics. So if we want a serious conversation, whatever our views in Wales is, if we want a serious conversation about joining Europe, the only way you're going to get that is through independence, because you won't be seeing a referendum in the UK anytime soon, and certainly not a serious one over joining the EU. Now, there are pluses and minuses to everything, but if we want to find out what those true pluses and minuses are, then we need to have a serious conversation, and we're just simply not going to get that unless we do it ourselves, and we remove ourselves from the circus that is politics in the UK.
Fi jyst fan apwyr ei hefyd fyna, taw a hawl gyda Cymru penderfyniad dros ei hyd, y reswm pam mod i'n aelod o YesCymru, like self-determination is the reason I'm a member of YesCymru. It's the right for the Welsh people, because I'm of an age where we cofio Llywodraeth Thatcher and dda iawn Llywodraeth like y pobl Cymru byth erioed pleidleisio drosti. So I remember governments that we've had that we have never voted for, and lladd cymunedau. And y reswm mwyaf fi yn aelod, a fi mor brwd dros Cymru ar y bynol o'r ffaith bo' mae'n amser i bobl Cymru penderfynu beth sy'n digwydd yn Cymru yn y fodol. That is, for me, it's often the biggest reason I'm so passionately involved in independence is it's our right to decide what happens to us in the future, and nobody else's. And so that's why I wouldn't be so presumptuous to say, yeah, well, look, we had a poll recently that said if we were to rejoin the EU, support for independence, would be over 50%. But that's not right either. Like, it's for the people of Wales to decide what happens. It's not for us to tell them what will happen and things like that. And I want to live in a democratic country that treats people fairly and treats people right. And that's why independence is more bwysig I fi, so important to me. Gwych, os unrhyw cwestiynau eraill o gwbl. Cei jyst dweud, ni wastad ar agor am sgwrsiau, ni yn y sondyn trwy'r wythnos, os ti'n teimlo bod ti'n gallu gofyn cwestiwn now, we're always open for conversations. Easily contactable as well. If there's ever anything you want to know about YesCymru, how to become involved, how to dictate what we do.
Start your own group if you want it. Yeah.
Yeah, your local groups. Yeah, super important. Marini. Anything.
An aelod. Edit have an aelod. Anyone member?
I reckon there's probably a few different people before. Yeah.
So your job is to go and tell somebody else to be a member. Something double up.
Yeah. Do you know what I tell somebody else and really, do you know what, this is mad, isn't it? I remember I've been into independence for a long time in my life. I think cofio gweud wrth pobl, if all of us convince 2 other people to support independence, we're going to win. And then it got down to, if we all convince 1 other person, we're going to win. And now it's down to, if 4 of us can convince, if 4 of us can convince 1 person. And dyna sut mae wedi newid dros y blynyddoedd. That's how things have changed over the years. Is the number of people it's because soon it's going to be if the whole world and hey can convince 1 person, they're going to win. A dyna pa mor agos ydyn ni, like, tymod, so...
Un pwynt i drofio hefyd, mi creu sy'n bwysig os pobl yn gofyn ti, beth o'r gwahaniaeth mae YesCymru wedi greu? Cyn YesCymru wedi cael ei sefydlu. So, what's the difference YesCymru have made since we've established? Well, at yn 2014, oeddwn ni'n polling at rhywbeth fel 3% i 9%, rhywbeth fel yna. Now ni'n at 41%. So we were polling at 3 to 9% for independence. Now, 10 years later, trwy YesCymru, we're polling at 41%. So dyna wahaniaeth. Ni wedi symud y nid o symud. Mae hynny'n bwysig i cofio bod sut mae grwpiau ar y midau fel hyn, y gwahaniaeth mae'n gallu gwneud trwy just cario ymlaen yn gweithio, blwyddyn ar o blwyddyn. T'mod? A dyna pam mae'n bwysig.
And Siobhan, un peth i hynny, just to add one thing to that. And don't mistake this, there is an absolute belief within YesCymru that we are going to be an independent nation very soon. That we are at the point now, in terms of research that we've done, in terms of looking at how things go. There are some challenges, but we are extremely confident that we can answer the question for people who are asked, and that we can turn people with a soft nose into yeses. And we know hefyd that unwaith bod pobl yn dyn nhw ddim yn debygol o fynd yn ôl. So once somebody's a they're not likely to go back. So mae hwn yn amser cyffwys iawn. Yn ein hanes ni fel cynnal, this is an extremely exciting time in our history as a nation. And just gofyn i pobl, just cael y sgwrsiau, siarad gyda pobl, because this is happening, and it is happening far sooner than anybody realises.
Okay. Hefyd, os ydych gwybod mwy am beth ni'n neud, y gwaith ni'n neud tu ôl y scenes, if you want to know more about the work we're doing behind the scenes, sydd ddim yn amlwg, which isn't obvious, dwi'n mynd i bod yn neud mwy gyda podlediau ar pethau fel yna, datblygu'r channel YesCymru a YouTube, cydweithio gyda grwpiau a pethau fel yna. So I'm going to be developing a YouTube channel and other things, working with the groups. So mae llawer o pethau sy'n mynd i bod yn digwydd yn y blwyddyn, blwyddyn yma a blwyddyn nesaf. So, os ti'n mwyn gofyn cwestiynau, if you want to ask questions, come and see me on the stand.
Dwi'n teimlo'n llwyr bod pethau gallu symud yn gyflym iawn dyna welwn ni gyda diwedd yr ystod. I'm going to hear Eisteddfod Wrecsam. I'm lying up here at both the company the support to that. As that Eisteddfod copio up on our like or only be but beth yw di fi bobl sy'n gweithio i wladwyr Cymru. So gweithio byddai fi cael gweithio bodlediad delio cwestiwn y bach. Beth fi'n gwybod os sy'n gweithio, gadi dychmygu yr idoniaethu codi off yna bobl o sawl referendum, a chi wisio tir Cymnia yn cael ci, neu'r swydd y basbota a di hysewi, neu y DGLA, beth sy'n ni wedi wrth swydd chi? Beth sy'n bod genon ni ategion ffydd? Cwestiwn yna.
Mae'n siŵr bod yn y gallu bod yn podlediad.
Ni'n mynd i edrych ar hyn, dwi'n trio trefnu'r podlediad ar hyn ar hyn i byd, achos mae'n cwpl o enghreifftiau ddar sy'n digwydd, yn barod yn Europe. Ni gyda'r Scandinavia, ble pobl yn gweithio yn Copenhagen, ond maen nhw'n byw yn Malmo, maen nhw'n just teithio nôl ac ymlaen. Mae'n hollol normal yn Europe i gweithio fel hyn, i byw fel hyn. Mae'n yr un peth yn Czechia a Slovakia. Maen nhw wedi, pan oedden nhw wedi splitio, maen nhw wedi rhoi pawb yn y dailad, y dewis, maen nhw'n gallu bod Slovakian citizen o'r Czechia neu y dau. Maen nhw'n gyrru dros ar y ffin, pob dydd, gweithio.
The specific question there is, when it appears people working for British institutions in Wales. Un o'r pethau, bod ni gallu neud yw bod outsourcing yn digwydd yn aml iawn ti fi'r Llywodraeth Prydeinig. O'n i siarad am passports glas sy wedi dylunio mewn gwlad pwyl a wedi pryntio mewn Ffrainc fi'n credu yn rhywbeth fel hynny. So, we talk a lot about the fact that what happens to people within government institutions in Wales who are working. The UK government outsources a lot of things. The passports that we were so keen to get, the blue passports, are designed in designed and made in countries that aren't the UK. So you know, I think there's negotiations, but it's something that very great. It's something dylsyn ni fod yn ei prynu ar y pethau fel hynny. A na mi really fach eto, gyda pwyntiau bod pobl wedi codi heddiw. Ma'n really dda, because dyna beth dyn ni angen neud. Yn dyn yn sylweddoli, ti di wna'n aelodaeth ni, mae yna cymaint o bobl talentog sy'n meddwl am hynny trwy'r amser fel ni. So all the comments made today will be taken on board, and we will try and, we'll try and make sure that we address them in a way that's suitable.
Ar un enghraifft da, o'r y Royal Mint. So, maen nhw'n cwmni rhyngwladol, yna. Maen nhw'n gwneud y currency fi'n credu maen nhw'n gwneud Costa Rica, Bawer yn Europe. Dyn nhw jyst wneud y currency o Brydain. So, pan pobl yn dweud, ni'n mynd i gael y mint nôl i creu y pound o beth fel y, dwi hyn ddim yn mynd i ddigwydd. Ac os sydd yn costio nhw gormod arian jyst i wneud e, a mae'n cwmni yn wneud mint yn wneud, currency i llawer o gwledydd yn barod.
Oed ti'n gwestiwn?
Bod os oedd gen fo waith o wynas cymablen yn fyny fo, i fyny i ein SME westog, i fod am 20 o slaid, oedd o sydd yn ei ystod efo'r gilydd. Bod yma dar i siodd o fyny pyralus, o conflict,
So beth dyn ni wedi wneud yn hitch after hynny, so what we've done instead of having a conference is dyn ni wedi dechrau ar cyfres o ddigwyddiadau o'r enw Nabod Cymru. So, Nabod Cymru wedi bod hyd yn hyn, dyn ni wedi bod yn Merthyr, Abertawe, Blaen y Ffestiniog. Yn nesaf yn mis Medi, so mis nesaf byddwn ni yn Machynlleth. Drwy waith y flwyddyn, bod ni'n mynd i ardal Cymru am penwythnos, bod ni'n cael cyfres y digwyddiadau fyna, gan gynnwys cyfleu aelodau siarad, a'n dros amser byddwn ni gobeithio yn weld â phob dan o Gymru. Ac un o'r manteisiwn ar wahân y ffaith bod ni really wedi drio bod yng Nghymru pobl a dysgu am ardaloedd gwahanol yng Nghymru, ydy bod yna tueddiad i gael sgwrsiau agored iawn yn fanna. So we do run a series of events rather than just a conference called Nabod Cymru or No in Wales, where we travel to different areas of Wales. We're to Merthyr, Blaen y Ffestiniog and Abertawe. We're in Machynlleth next month. There are sort of gigs, music, but also the opportunity to have discussions about what YesCymru do. And
those groups organise the whole weekend, basically. So that makes everybody all work together and know each other. Yeah, it's really, really good. They've been really successful.
Yeah, we know we're in Carnarvon as well at the start of blwyddyn nesaf, so Chwedro Mawrth. And it's just Wales is like a quilt of communities, and we've all got so much in common with each other. And going to places and seeing this, I mean, I live in a small minor village just outside Merthyr, and being in Blaen y Ffestiniog was like being at home, like. Apart from the fact I couldn't understand what he was saying, no joking, I could. But it was like Bodgatcha. So yeah, dyna beth dyn ni wedi penderfynu wneud. More than big conferences is have events where we travel around Wales and give people the opportunity to come and speak to them.
Brilliant. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Diolch.
Dyna fe. Yeah. Just mae'n dweud diolch am pobl I god. Un peth bellach yn gyflym, os ti'n mwyn death-ride group newydd, and whenever you're going to prifystol, because you've been mynd gweithio gyda pobl ifanc, dod I weld I yn y sondyn. Am y sort of feth. Diolch.
Yeah, diolch yn fawr iawn I chi gyd am ddod a gwrando arno ni. Diolch. We'n really gwerthfawrogi bod cymaint o bobl mynd in. Wir I chi. Diolch.